I, 27 female, am pregnant with my first child. As expected, I'm very happy and I'm sharing news of my pregnancy on Facebook as I have several family members who live overseas. And also, I want to. This is my first child and I'm beyond happy. The issue is my older sister, 29, who's infertile and has given up on children after 9 losses. My sister and I have never had a good relationship. She was sick as a baby and nearly died. The trauma caused my parents to favor her and place her above me. As a result, I was always expected to make myself as small as possible to accommodate her. She always got a cake and more presents on my birthday so she wouldn't feel left out. I was told to hide my grades as she did badly at school. I was also not allowed to display trophies in my home because she might see them and get upset. My sister 100% leaned into this and made my life a nightmare. She would make up stuff so my parents would take things from me and give them to her. I was even told not to go to my prestigious university, think Ivy League, but in my country, because it would upset her. When I chose to go, my parents cut me off. That was fine, as my paternal grandparents, who basically raised me, took care of everything. I was dropped off with them a lot when my sister needed medical care. Since then, I've been in low contact with my family and only see them around the holiday at my grandparents' place. They weren't invited to my wedding. When I got pregnant, I shared the announcement online, and everybody congratulated me, except my parents and sister, who harassed me and reported my post so it wouldn't get taken down. I blocked them all. I saw them again on New Year's at the grandparents' place. When they saw me, my sister started screaming at my grandparents, saying how could they invite me after what I did to her. She was also screaming at my belly as it offended her. She kept crying and asking how I could do this to her. I told her I did nothing to her. She went on and on about her losses and how hard they were on her, but I snapped and told her I didn't care. She's not my sister. She's my bully who tormented me my whole life. I owe her nothing. My life has nothing to do with her. This got my parents mad and they screamed at me too. My uncles ended up throwing them out and it ruined the party. My family said I did nothing wrong, but my parents and my sister's friends have been mass reporting my Facebook account until I ended up deleting it. Am I the idiot? Should I have shown her more grace? Not the idiot. Wow, your parents are enabling your grown-up sister's bullying. I mean, I get that they wanted to spoil her after almost losing her as a baby, but nothing warrants the harassment the three of them seem to have put you through your whole life. Like seriously, are you supposed to never be better or faster than your sister at anything? Ever? Geez. I can't tell how bad you snapped since you probably paraphrased the interaction, but it seems like your sister had it a long time coming, and you should honestly just cut off all contact with her and your parents. The toxic vibes are strong with these ones. Also, congratulations on your pregnancy. May your child be cheerful and grow up in a better loving environment than you, unfortunately, had to. Yep, your parents and your sister are truly toxic. While I feel bad for her having to go through 9 losses, your life doesn't revolve around her. Your parents are horrible for their blatant favoritism and for making you hide all of your achievements growing up, so you can't, in a sense, outshine her. If I was you, I'd go no contact after this. Yeah, she was screaming at your belly as it offended her? What did she expect? That you would be voluntarily child-free to protect her feelings? Or that you would decline any and all invitations to family events until your child is grown and you can pretend she no longer exists? Obviously, the idiots here are your sister and parents for screaming at you at your grandparents' home. I am so sorry you had such an awful childhood. I hope your pregnancy goes easily and you have a lovely baby. Having a happy life really is the best revenge. My husband has 3 kids, tween male and pre-tween female, and his former stepdaughter teen. I also have 2 kids, tween male and older tween female. My husband's ex had mental health issues, and my husband didn't want her alone with the kids. So shortly after they got married, he hired Lucia, mid-late 50s at the time, to take care of his stepdaughter, then later their kids. He eventually left his ex, and they moved to be closer to his family. However, he didn't want to fire Lucia, so she moved in with him. Lucia is very close with these kids. They call her grandma. She taught them Spanish, and she loves the kids. It's not unusual to see the youngest sitting in Lucia's lap while they watch a movie, and she always hugs and kisses them. My kids and I moved in, and while she's nice to us, she treats my kids like an afterthought. I don't pay her for my kids. They take the bus to school and can walk to and from the bus stop, make themselves a snack, and do their homework. The only thing she needs to do when she makes dinner, I need her to make some for my kids. There are two problems with this arrangement. First, she makes Mexican food all the time. My kids don't eat Mexican food, so my daughter ends up making dinner for herself and her brother half the time. Second, she's extremely loving to my husband's kids while ignoring mine. It wouldn't kill them to speak English around my kids or for her to not hug and kiss them every 30 seconds. It makes my kids uncomfortable and a little jealous. I told my husband about this, and he said he didn't know what I was expecting since Lucia had been with those kids for 12 years. So I told him to talk to Lucia about making things fair between the kids. Speak English so my kids can be included in the conversation. Make food that all of the kids like, and include my kids in their outings. Once a week, Lucia picks the kids up from school and takes them out to get ice cream or hot chocolate, and sometimes they go out to dinner after that. My husband says no, because his kids love Lucia's Mexican food, and the ice cream has been a tradition with the four of them for 7 years. The kids will start to forget their Spanish if they don't speak it regularly with Lucia, and because she's been their grandma since the oldest was 3 and the younger 2 were born, so having her change anything now will be harmful to his kids. I told him that he couldn't just think of his kids anymore, and that keeping things the way they are is harmful to my kids. Still, he's refusing to change anything. Instead, he blamed everything on me because I was the one that told Lucia that my kids don't need a nanny and didn't invite her to any family activities so she could become closer to my kids. Since he's refusing to talk to her about it himself, I'm considering talking to her, but I wanted to know if I was the idiot for wanting my husband to do it. You are the idiot. To your husband's children, Lucia has been a maternal figure that they otherwise wouldn't have. They're bonded. You didn't just show up and marry your husband. You were aware that Lucia is their caretaker, and you moved in, and now are dictating the terms of their relationship. You're not paying Lucia to care for your children. Your husband's children are accustomed to the food she makes. Your children can either adapt to the meals or go without them. Your husband's children are now bilingual. Instead of encouraging your children to also learn Spanish and practice that skill, you're demanding change. Yes, you're married, but there was no agreement to change the care situation before marriage. You were aware of the arrangements with Lucia. It seems you're trying to sabotage the relationship, which is not okay. Yep, how do you join someone else's family and be like, things are gonna have to change around here, solely to benefit you and make you more comfortable, without creating or adding any positive or benefit for the family you want to become a part of? You're being selfish and entitled and sound like you would be a horrible step-parent. You aren't paying her to take care of your kids. She definitely shouldn't have to make a separate special meal for kids she isn't being paid to take care of. The same goes for special outings for your kids. It seems you want to make your stepkids' lives worse to make your and your kids' lives more convenient, and you'd like your husband to pay for it all. You're the entitled one, aren't you? My family owns property in a tropical destination that is very popular at this time of the year. My friends and I, all girls in our early 20s, have been talking about going to my parents' house for years, and this January was finally the season. Everything was aligning in our favor. An acquaintance of mine, Jessica, who's a part of our larger group of friends, heard about the upcoming trip and asked to join us. I was initially reluctant, but she kept publicly insisting on it by saying that visiting this place was one of her childhood dreams, which put me in an awkward position to say no. We then added her to our travel group chat and went over everything already decided on our itinerary and how much money we plan to spend on this trip. She seemed excited about it and didn't want to change anything. Great. Unfortunately, things started to go south the moment she arrived here. Jessica bought a different flight from everyone else and would arrive at 3 a.m. I told her she could either get a taxi to my house or wait at the airport until 10 a.m. when I would drive to pick everybody else up. She wasn't happy with that and was very passive-aggressive for the rest of the day. She then started complaining about our itinerary, how everywhere we picked was too expensive, and she felt excluded and judged by the people there. We tried to compromise and did a few touristy things with her, but when we started getting ready to go to the beach club yesterday, she threw a fit. I reminded her that she knew about this before buying the tickets, and she wasn't forced to join us. Instead, she could stay home and eat the food my parents kindly stocked for us, or walk around the city center. When we returned home, I was flooded with messages from our mutual friends, asking why I was so mean to poor Jessica. Apparently, she took it to social media and created this narrative that she's a victim and we're bullies. I was sick of it. We had a fight where she called me terrible things. I wasn't a perfect angel either, to be fair, ending with her being kicked out. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. She invited herself on your trip and then acted appalled that it wasn't catered to her needs and wishes. Make sure all of your friends blowing up your phone due to her social media post know your side of the story. She created her own problems and tried to blame you. She can just get herself back home. You are the idiot because of the part where it's a different country and she might not have enough money for a hotel, and it could be dangerous for a young woman. She was entitled and obnoxious, and I understand why you kicked her out. Maybe it would have been more considerate if you had first warned her about being kicked out. Your other mistake here was caving under the pressure of avoiding awkwardness and allowing her to come in early. And feeling awkward by saying no is far less painful than the ordeal you just encountered. Update. Am I the idiot for kicking my friends out of my vacation house in a foreign country? Even though I was mainly judged, not the idiot, I did feel bad about the way I handled it. Like many of you pointed out, it's my fault for allowing her to come in the first place. This country, and especially this specific location, is considered safe, but it's not idiot-proof. Something bad could have happened, and I would have blamed myself for it. I decided to be the bigger person and contacted Jessica earlier today after dropping my friends off at the airport. Our talk went really well. She explained that in the beginning she was looking forward to our plans. She wanted to experience the glitz and glamour of the destination. In her head, she would go to the beach clubs with us, and guys would offer to buy her drinks and ask her for dinner so she wouldn't have to pay for any of it. Unfortunately, reality didn't play out like that, and she started to grow resentful whenever one of us would get male attention. The final straw was when I wouldn't let her borrow a wetsuit from me when we went scuba diving. She wouldn't fit in any of our extras, and I didn't want them to stretch or break. She said that it triggered her imposter syndrome and body dysmorphia, so she didn't want to go to the hot spots with us, as it affected her mental health. I told her that while I understand where she's coming from, I hope she realizes that my friends and I are not in the wrong for sticking to our original itinerary and not catering to her insecurities. We didn't bully her once, and slandering us on social media for her own issues was unacceptable and unhinged. She genuinely apologized for her behavior, and she knew she was in the wrong. I also apologized for kicking her out in the heat of our fight and offered to pay for her hotel and any fees she had to anticipate her flight. She thanked me and said she would request the payment via a money app. Everything was going well until I saw the request for 5,000 euros. What? I texted her, asking if this was the right amount. She said yes. I asked for receipts, but she didn't have any. I asked for bank statements or any sort of proof. She got angry and went back to being her rude, irrational self. I blocked her everywhere, and I won't talk to her ever again. Well, this took a turn at the end. Do I understand this correctly? So this woman came on vacation and didn't have enough money to do the activities because she thought other travelers or locals would pick up her bar bills to flirt with her? And then she got frustrated and stressed when it wasn't happening because she wouldn't have enough to pay for things. You are clearly way better off without this person. They've shown that they will not be accountable for their own idiot behavior. Wow, OP went out of her way to even pay for this entitled idiot's hotel. And this is what she does to OP? Sends a $5,000 bill with no receipt? At this point, I would have left that friend in the middle of the desert. It sounds like you should screenshot her request for 5,000 euros and be ready to share it on social media when she once again accuses you of being mean. Shocked she didn't scream emotional distress for the excessive amount. Chick should have never gone on a vacation she knew she couldn't afford, point blank. She sounds like a bagpacker who wants others to pay their way. OP, you should have just stuck with the talk and not offered her money. Every year, my family spends Christmas in Hawaii. We've done it every year since I can remember, and it's a fun family tradition for me. After my husband and I had kids, we had to reorganize our family Christmas plans because his parents wanted to see our kids for Christmas. So we decided to celebrate Christmas with his parents on New Year's and go to Hawaii for actual Christmas. This is the system that worked for us until last year. Last year, his dad passed away around this time of year, and it hit him and his mom hard. For obvious reasons, we didn't go to Hawaii. This year, we planned out what we'd do for the holidays early. We'd do Thanksgiving with his mom, and we'd do Christmas in Hawaii since the kids and I missed out last year. Things were going well until right before our flight. Then about a week out, he said he was unsure. He said he thinks it might be better that we stay. He said he wanted to spend Christmas with his family and felt like his mom needed it. I was unhappy about this. We made a plan. We saw her last month, and we already had my dad buy our tickets and hotel. So it would be incredibly unfair to me, him, and our kids for us not to go just for his mom, who we'd see a few days after we got back anyways. So we got into an argument about it and proposed that the kids and I go to Hawaii and he could stay there with his mom. He decided to do this, but he was clearly very upset that I wasn't going to forego my family's Christmas tradition and see my family just for his mom. So now I'm in Hawaii watching and wrangling my kids by myself while he's home alone. He hasn't texted me or responded to me much. When I call him, he only talks for about 3 minutes before wanting to get off the phone with me and talk to the girls. Am I the idiot? Edit. It's a my side of the family thing. Also, I feel that it would be rude to ask to invite my mother-in-law since we don't pay. You are the idiot for your attitude. I wasn't going to forego my family's Christmas tradition and see my family just for his mom. Obviously, his mom is important to him. I understand that you have to move on, but everyone has different grief. That's the loss of her life partner. You've put your tradition above your family, which in my honest opinion really sucks. Not the idiot. If he had suggested 6 months ago, before the trip was planned and paid for, that you spend Christmas with his mom and adjust the family holiday Christmas schedule accordingly, then that would be different. But he waited until 1 week before, after spending Thanksgiving with her and the whole trip was paid for, to suggest canceling your side of the family's holiday and doing Christmas with her as well? Bottom line, I understand and commiserate with his feelings, but I think casually expecting his whole family to cancel a fantastic trip that was already paid for was unreasonable, given the time frame, and at the very least, he shouldn't punish you for still going when he didn't. Disagree. You are the idiot for we spend every Christmas in Hawaii with my family, so he never gets to spend Christmas with his family. How many Christmases did he miss with his dad before he died? And the part where she says, the kids and I missed out last year. Like, yeah, for a good reason. Your father-in-law just died. I don't know. Everyone's giving her a pass here, but to me, OP comes off as incredibly selfish and uncaring. It's like she doesn't really care about his or his mother's grief, as long as she gets her free trip to Hawaii on Daddy's dime. My nearly adult female. Mom died a little over a year ago. I was living with her full time before she passed. She left me a lot of money in her house. Since the house was just going to stay empty until I was done with college, my aunt on my mom's side and I talked about it, and we agreed she would stay there since she's taking care of my grandma and her place was small. So I'll move back in once I've finished my schooling. My dad assumed my mom left me her money and left the house to my aunt. I didn't correct him because I don't trust my dad or have a great relationship with him. I'm currently living with him, his wife Jan, and her twin daughters, nearly adult, both lovely people, in a 3-bedroom flat. 2 months ago, he found out that my mom left me the house. I'm not sure how he found out, but he did. Since then, I haven't heard the end of it. I'm selfish for making us all stay in a tiny flat. I'm spoiled because I won't share my inheritance. I'm terrible for making the twins take out loans. You get the gist. This weekend was the twins' birthday at my grandma's house. Most of my dad's family was there. We get along great usually, and his wife's family and some of their friends were there, along with the twins' friends. After they were done opening my present to them, they asked me if that was really it. I got them matching bracelets with their birthstones, which they both loved, by the way. It got quiet, and I asked them what else they were expecting. They said Jan said that I was planning on surprising them on their birthday by telling them we were moving into my mom's house and helping them with college. My grandma asked Jan if this was true, and Jan started in on me again. She asked what she could do to make me stop being a witch, pull my weight, help out, and be fair. I told her she could drop dead. I told her my mom died for me to get all of these things that she wanted me to give her daughters. I said if she wanted everything to be fair, then she should drop dead, and I'd share everything I had with her daughters since we all would have lost a mother. That it would be fair only after that happened. She and my dad started yelling at me, and my grandma and uncle started yelling at my dad and Jan, and everything else was pretty much over after that. The whole ride home, my dad and Jan were getting calls and texts from family and friends telling them they were disappointed in them, and I was getting texts from Jan's family, the twins' friends, and a few of my cousins saying I was selfish. I don't usually fight with my cousins, so I'm really starting to think maybe I'm being selfish and that I went too far at the twins' party. Am I the idiot? Edit. I can't live with my aunt. My grandma needs a lot of space right now, and our setup has gotten the best results for her. I love my grandma, but seeing her on the brink of death sends my mind to a bad place. I tried staying the weekend once, and I had a panic attack. A rare time when you can tell someone to drop dead and still be not the idiot. At your young age, I wouldn't have had the verbal creativity or emotional fortitude to advocate for myself so expertly. You are, in fact, a hero for ensuring your aunt has housing security as she cares for your aging grandmother, for standing up for yourself in the face of emotional immaturity of the adults around you, and for investing in yourself. Hon, block every single one of these people. They're not your family. Your family's supporting you because they love you. And don't give anyone a dime until you've figured out your motives. Cat is out of the bag, and the family can be the slimiest. They don't own you. And this BS where Jan made up a story about what you were going to do and then surprised you with it? Incredible. I hope you get out as soon as you can. Yeah, surprise them on their birthday by telling them they were moving into my house and I'm helping them with college. The sheer audacity that Jan had in attempting to coerce a kid into giving up their assets is alarming. Calling you selfish for ensuring your grandmother and her carer have what they need is textbook projection. OP, make sure your money and the house are secured. Your mom died. It's your inheritance, your house and your money. It doesn't belong to anyone but you. It's not your responsibility to take care of anyone. Your dad is a grown adult. He needs to work and get a bigger house to provide for his new family. I'm so sorry you lost your mom. I hope her memory will always be a blessing. I, 42 female, told my 19-year-old daughter, who currently lives with her fiancé, 36 male, that she must either choose her soon-to-be husband or us. Unfortunately, who she met when she was newly turned 18 at her father's 49 male business conference. He's made it seem like we're the bad guys who don't want them together, but that's not it. We don't want them together because of who she's become. She's now distant and only gives us bland replies, which we know he has indoctrinated her with. She hasn't spoken to her father because she doesn't want work issues between them, which again wouldn't happen. Instead, he lavishes her with materialistic gifts to manipulate her into loving him or his company. He proposed to her just after a year of their relationship. Recently, we invited her and him over because we knew she wouldn't come if we didn't invite him. However, she still declined and told us she was going to his family's cabin. We told her they could come a couple of days later, but she still declined. That's when I called her and told her, "This isn't going to be tolerated by your father and me any longer." I informed her that she must either respect our wishes or his, and she just told us to sleep because we seemed sleep deprived from the foolish questions we were asking. I haven't spoken to her since, 3 days ago, but am I the idiot for giving her an ultimatum? You are the idiot for making her choose, because it sounds like she doesn't have a choice. This man has a million red flags and is clearly trying to ensure all family and friends shut her out and stop contact, a clear sign of an abuser. They stop contact with everyone, so she's stuck in this relationship and has no one else to turn to. In my opinion, I would apologize and say you're always here for her, no matter what, because ultimately, that could be her lifeline. My mom told me that she got mixed up with my awful dad because she desperately wanted to leave her repressive parents. She jumped into a relationship with the first guy that showed her any interest. Within a year, she got pregnant twice and had me a month after her 18th birthday. She stayed in part due to her parents' reactions. I honestly can't help but think she's entered a relationship with a much older man for his ability to get her away from you. OP, I think your child needs your help and support now more than ever. She's not okay, as you know. She's in a very unhealthy relationship, and she's just a kid, but legally an adult. So there's nothing you can do about that except refuse to allow him to isolate her. Don't help that idiot. Be there for her even if you don't like her choice. It's going to end, but she won't have anywhere to turn. Do not help him isolate her. Let her know you disagree with her choice, yes, but that you love her and will always support her. And then do not talk about it. First, a little backstory. 3 years ago, I, 37 female, gave birth. Since then, I've been at home, raising my daughter. Now that she's older, I decided to get a part-time afternoon job so that my husband, 40, could watch over our daughter while I worked. At first, I found a job at a pastry shop, but the owner was terribly rude, and I was working overtime, unpaid every day, so I left. I started working at a burger joint, and I actually really enjoy it. The problem started when I started going to work 15 minutes earlier and leaving a little later to get to know my coworkers. Everyone was welcoming and helpful, and I felt rude leaving the second my shift was over, while everyone else was staying for a bit to chat. My husband said he was okay with me going in a little early, but that's it. Yesterday, I worked until midnight. We were really understaffed, and I didn't even get my break or even drink a cup of water during my whole shift. At midnight, my manager asked me to stay for another hour, so I did. The second I entered the crew room, I heard my phone ringing. It was my husband. I grabbed my jacket and called him back. I told him I had just gotten off work and how busy it was. He asked me if I knew where he was, and I didn't understand the question until I saw him with our toddler a minute away from my job at 1 a.m. He started yelling at me and saying that I should have called him, that he was worried, and that things had to change because things would get worse. He also forbade me from calling him while he's at work. He works for himself. He has an office. At some point, I tried to calm things down by apologizing for not notifying him and explaining to him that I couldn't just go to the crew room because I was at the register. However, he said that he didn't accept the apology, and we haven't talked since. Am I really that much of an idiot for not notifying him for working an extra hour? P.S. My job is 2 blocks from our home, and I walk one of the most well-lit and busier streets to get there. I get why your husband's upset. He was expecting you to be home a little past midnight, and at 1 you're still not there. You're not picking up your phone. It's the middle of the night, and something bad could have happened to you. The only thing he could do was come to your work to check and bring the kid with him. What else was he supposed to do? Call the actual restaurant instead of taking an infant out in the middle of the night. OP, you could have said to your manager when he asked you to stay longer that you needed a minute to inform your husband. You were an hour late home at midnight. I understand he was worried. He could have, however, behaved like a normal adult, not yelling like a madman. He was most likely afraid, and fear is a powerful feeling that can make people act badly. Maybe you should both act like adults and talk to each other. I'm sorry, but you are the idiot. You could have asked the manager for a break to, number 1, get a darn drink of water, and number 2, notify your husband that you're working late so he doesn't worry. You should have told your boss that you didn't have a problem with overtime, but you'd have to let your family know. My sister-in-law, Diane, was a nurse in the Pacific Northwest. She lived in a very high cost of living city. 15 years ago, she bought a small apartment in a new development. It took about 2 years to build. In that time, the price of apartments in that building went up by about 30%. Nevertheless, she didn't sell it because it was perfect for her. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with breast cancer about 2 years after she took possession. She really didn't want to move back to Minnesota, so she asked her family for money to keep up with the mortgage. None of them had the money, and her mom wanted her to move home. I was friends with her before I married her sister, just friends, nothing more. She asked me for help. I bought the apartment from her. I took over the mortgage, and I didn't charge her rent. I paid all the taxes and condo levies. She got enough money from her insurance and a side hustle to live there. My wife knew we were helping her, but we didn't say anything because her mom was angry that she didn't move home after her diagnosis. Diane passed away last month. She had a hard life for the last decade, but she was happy. So when her mom got a copy of the will, she was furious. The apartment is worth a lot of money now. It's in a great building in a good neighborhood. She was expecting the apartment to sell and for there to be money to split up amongst all of her grandchildren. Diane never married and never had kids. Mother-in-law found out about the deal I made with Diane. My wife and I own the apartment outright. After we clear it out and get rid of all her stuff, we'll rent it out. The income it'll generate will pay for our retirement in a while, and then we'll sell it. Our kids will have a nice nest egg to help them. But now my mother-in-law told everyone how we took advantage of her daughter in her time of need and stole her apartment, and how Diane would be upset if she knew we weren't sharing all the money from her apartment. It is really starting to bug my wife, and she says she should sell it and help out all of the nephews and nieces. I showed her a spreadsheet of all of our costs for the apartment. If I subtract all of my cost and lost opportunities for the investment, the 8 nibblings might get $3,000 each when everything's said and done. I said if she wanted, we could give them each that much to get her family to drop it. Her family says that it's BS, that we should sell the apartment and split it equally. I said I'd be willing to do that in return for each of them paying 1/3 of the money I invested over the last 10 years. They don't think that's fair. My wife is upset, and her family's upset, and I'm just trying to be fair to myself. I spent 10 years giving up other investments in toys for myself and helped out Diane instead, and now I'm getting crapped on. Not the idiot. The family's just upset because they assumed Diane left them an estate that they could split amongst themselves. But that's just greedy. You enabled Diane to live independently for as long as possible, and the house is your property, not part of Diane's estate. If her family members had chipped in to support her during the last 10 years, there might be an estate worth fighting over. Your in-laws sound really greedy. If it's all about helping family, why didn't they help Diane out financially when she needed their support? They didn't support her when it wouldn't benefit them, but now that she's gone, they expect some financial gain from her death. I know grief does weird things to people, but that's just a screwed up mindset. Yeah, this falls under the no good deed goes unpunished rule. You did a good thing, a great thing actually, in helping Diane. It'd be ashamed if you lost your retirement boon just because greedy, entitled people are being loud. You know they aren't going to be happy about this no matter what, right? Even if the Nibs get $3,000, the complaining and lies will not end. So do what you intended to do and keep it for your retirement. I, 28 female, am part of a group of 9 female friends. Except for another woman and me, let's call her Daisy, they do not have kids. Daisy and I had our kids 3 weeks apart. Both of our children are infants. My husband and I are very lucky that we're financially secure and that our combined income is the mid-6 figures. Daisy and her husband are not, and most of our other friends are not as well. Now that I'm back to work, I decided that it was also time to get back to a routine, somewhat close to my old one. I didn't want to be the kind of woman who only defines herself as a mother, and there's nothing wrong with that, and as I said, I have the means to help with that. We hired an au pair, and it's been life-changing. I still spend a lot of time being a mom, and I love my daughter, but now I get to go to the gym. I'm rested because I don't have to be up with her all night. I can go to brunch with my friends, and last Saturday I even went clubbing. I didn't drink since I breastfeed, but I still had fun with my friends. On the other hand, Daisy's exhausted and hasn't had the time to go out with us. Very understandable. So we made sure to visit her, and the one time she agreed to go to brunch, we made sure to choose a child-friendly restaurant. After seeing some photos we posted on social media of us enjoying the club, she sent a text in the group chat asking why we didn't invite her. Another friend said she was invited, but she declined since she couldn't spend that much time away from her son. Then Daisy said that we should have done what she suggested instead, which was to have a nice dinner at a family-friendly restaurant, then just spend a couple of hours at home chatting. The same friend replied that we did that last weekend and that they wanted to have fun. Daisy said that it wasn't fair that she was being excluded for being a mom, but that same friend replied that she wasn't and that she was being dramatic. Then she said if we were excluding moms, my name would have been excluded too. Daisy then calls me. As soon as I picked up, she started scolding me about giving our friends a false idea of what being a mom is, that most moms don't have the means to hire help the way that I do, that normal people have to sacrifice a lot of things once they have kids, and that me not having to do that makes her seem like a bad friend and stops our other friends from accommodating her. At the time, I didn't know what the whole deal was about, but I could kind of understand the situation. So I told her that normal moms leave their kids with their fathers to go out with their friends. It was entitled people who expected the whole world to change because they decided to have kids. After reading the whole argument on the group chat, though, I think that I went overboard and that I really might be doing exactly what she accused me of. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The world isn't fair. It's a bummer for Dee that she can't afford to hire help, but she still chose to have a kid. The group isn't excluding her, especially if they occasionally accommodate her motherhood. Of course the group dynamics were going to change. She can't honestly expect that a mostly child-free group is suddenly going to want to only socialize around breastfeeding schedules and baby-friendly themes. Yeah, she's also probably more than a little jealous that you have the means to acquire help and get some of your life back. It sounds like maybe the father isn't stepping up, or maybe she's putting too much of the care of the little one on herself and is starting to crumble under the pressure, and you got the brunt that day. Everybody sucks here. You headed right into idiot territory with that comment, especially the normal moms. That was a crappy thing to say to a friend of yours. But on the other hand, your friend shouldn't be blaming you for your parenting choices. So there's that. Frankly, I find it a little odd that 9 friends are finding time to do something every weekend, but you can't find time for her.